card spot. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil, Print.
Party like ever you want till midnight. Party till midnight. And then remember, you've got to decide, make the choice that you're going to believe that there's a reason this group ended up first place, wire to wire. Make sure you understand that.
It takes so many people to be on a good team. You have to get contributions from everybody. You face a lot of adversity throughout the 6 months. That's why you celebrate when you make the postseason in the big leagues, because it's extremely hard to do, and every time you do it, it should be celebrated.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
I hope that 30 or 45 seconds of audio placated some of you. I'm thinking about Hot Take Jake that called in yesterday and said, why are they going to spray the champagne? It's not even about making the playoffs. It's about winning playoff series. It's about winning World Series. Yeah, but it's a huge accomplishment. As Christian Yelich talked about there, this thing starts back in February, right? A goal along the way, a goal on the path to the main goal is winning the division. It's a huge accomplishment. So should you black out and throw up all over the club? No. I would argue there's actually very few occasions in life where you should go that hard. But can you spray some champagne around and celebrate and jump up and down? Yeah. And maybe we'll get into this later on in the show. I'm not sure how drunk they're actually getting. They bring in the beers. They spray the champagne. I don't know that they have shot skis in there and they're all blacking out. Like, I'm sure they're drinking, but I don't know, guys. I don't think they're getting tanked in the clubhouse. Maybe they went out last night. I don't know. But I included in the intro those two comments, one from Murphy and one from Yelich, to placate some folks who called in yesterday. Who was the other one? Was it Jeff up in Eau Claire? I can't remember the other call. It was a good call, no offense. I can't remember exactly who it was. And I had Q in Milwaukee in my mentions last night too. Right? This isn't the job's not finished. Why are they celebrating? Because it's a huge accomplishment. Winning the division. It's a 162-game season. But I also liked Murphy's language there. It's like, hey, celebrate this tonight. This is a huge accomplishment. But then you got to think about and you got to consider, why was this team able to win the division? Think about what we've been able to accomplish and think of that going to waste. Think of that coming crashing down in a week in the postseason. I don't like the thought of that. Murphy hates the thought of that. And he's telling the players, don't you hate the thought of that? Don't you hate the thought of all of this going for nothing and meaning nothing in the end? Other than, of course, a division championship, which Yelich says, yeah, that matters. That's important. That's worth celebrating. I would agree. I just want it, as all of you do too, to be a step on the way to the next thing. A little bit of audio from last night's Brewers win. Walking off the Phillies, it just felt right. So that's where we begin tonight. This is the Wisco Sports Show. My name is Grant Bills. Hope you've had an excellent day. It's hard to have a bad day. Brewers are NL Central champions again. Jordan Love is practicing again, and maybe, just maybe, has a shot to play on Sunday. It's a more realistic shot than last weekend. I think it's probably like 40% chance to play, 60% chance he sits, but it's closer to 50-50 than I would have expected. You know, what we first thought and what we first expected when we watched him go down in Brazil, and then we spent all Friday night and all of Saturday morning and afternoon waiting, right? The thought that, well, maybe he misses 2 games, maybe 3 at the most. Like, that's great. So I'm taking this, especially because they were able to get that win with Malik Willis. So we will get into the Packers. We have plenty to talk about. A comment or two from Matt LaFleur earlier today that I want to play for you. We can react to that as we get ready for the Tennessee game coming up this weekend. We'll turn things over at the end of the show to Thorson and Heilprin. Maybe we'll connect with Zach and Ebo just for a couple minutes to shoot the breeze. I almost swore there, to shoot the breeze towards the end of the show. I'd love to shoot the breeze with you. Send me a text, 608-321-1670. You can call that number as well, although I'll just get out in front of it and say, don't call until 4:30, until we take our second break of the hour, because coming up after our first break here, just a couple minutes, Curt Hogg, the Journal Sentinel, going to join us on the live stream, so you can see his handsome face as well if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter. Otherwise, obviously, you'll hear him listening to the show as well. He was in the clubhouse last night for the celebration. He's been in the clubhouse most of the season. He can tell us about the season that the Brewers are now starting to wrap up, the regular season that they're wrapping up, and you know what this means, and anything else we want to pick his brain and get his descriptions and and reactions to last night. I'm excited to talk to Curt. It's been a couple of weeks. So I'm excited to just, as a friend, talk to Curt, but also to get his reaction to last night. So I'd love to talk to you on the phone. We're just going to wait a little bit until the second half of this hour. I tell you that because I don't want you to call in and then I just have to leave you sitting on hold. That's not fair. I don't want to do that. So Brewers clinched yesterday, right as the show was starting, right at 4:00. An unfortunate schedule quirk, let's call it. It's a 162 game season, and clinching on a night versus an afternoon, clinching it, I mean, whatever. In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't cheapen the accomplishment that they won while they were waiting around to play while the Cubs were playing in the afternoon. But as a fan and, as a talk show host too, I want theater, I want drama, I want the celebration to really pop. And last night, I think was worth it. Was worth it to go to that game, to watch that game, to wait for the celebration after the game because they were able to walk off the Phillies. Hoskins tying it against his old teammate, Aaron Nola. That was really cool. Devin Williams pitching one of the better innings that we've seen from him in a while. Really, as we headed towards the end of that game, it's starting to feel like, man, this could be a magical ending. This could be a magical finish. And then as they go to bottom of the ninth, it's like, due up for the Brewers, Jackson Chourio leading off. It's like, oh yeah, this might just be the night. This might just be a magical finish to a day that was already celebratory, right? They had already clinched, but I wanted the exclamation point and we got it. And it felt right with Jackson Chourio coming up because in stretches where this offense really hasn't been hitting top to bottom, and last night they weren't, but they were facing Aaron Nola, who's one of the best starters in baseball, but the offense is quiet. And in nights or in stretches of nights where the offense is quiet, for me, at least I'll speak personal experience, it becomes a little bit of a Jackson Chourio waiting game, right? It's like, okay, how many spots are we away from Chourio? Because he seems to be the one guy who can really kind of get it going at any time. And not to say that he can't have quiet streaks of at-bats too, but you just always feel like you have a chance with him at the plate, which is insane because he's 20. But Devin Williams pitching as good as he did, going to the bottom of the ninth, knowing that Jackson Chourio is coming up, it felt right. It felt like everything was lining up, and it's exactly how it went down. I don't know that I would have guessed the Jake Bauers walk-off single. I don't know that Jake Bauers would have been the bet that I made. But later on in the inning, that's how it came to pass. I want to talk before we get to Curt about what this division title means, bigger picture, compared to last year or compared to 2020, compared to 2018. I mean, these division titles, they just hard to keep them all straight. There's so many, right? The last couple of years. A lot of the conversations on television that were then transferred to social media. You see interviews, MLB Network, you see interviews with all the Brewers people, the Valley Sports crew, and all the Brewers beat reporters. I mean, Curt, I saw Hunter and Gasper down there, had some awesome conversations and some awesome content that they posted last night. Really good work by everyone, bringing that celebration to the fans who weren't able to be at the game and obviously weren't able to be in the clubhouse. A lot of the conversations and stories last night kind of were centered around, well, no one saw this coming, right? No one picked this team to do anything. No one believed that this team would be able to do anything. And I guess on a practical level, that's true. On a factual level, that's true because the Vegas win totals were high 70s, lower 80s. And that's not opinion. That's not a take. That's not a prediction. That's a professional group of forecasters setting a line. Those people are very smart. Those people are very good at what they do. The Sharp said this team's going to take a big step back. This team isn't going to be any good this year. Right. And then months and months and months and months later, look who's won the Central again for the second straight year. Different manager, all the injuries, all the different starters, of course. This division title is getting talked about nationally and I think locally a little bit as well. Like it's the most unlikely thing that's ever happened. But the more that I've thought about it today, I don't know that this should have been that surprising. I don't think that this should have been that shocking. It's easy to say now that they've done it, of course. But I don't really know that this was that insane. They had injuries, yeah. Most teams have injuries, but the Brewers had a lot of injuries, right? And they traded away Corbin Burns, and they lost their manager, a manager that I think was more integral to what they had been doing than most, and more connected than most, right? He was from Milwaukee. It's his hometown. There was a level of connection and involvement with Craig Counsell and the Brewers that I think was probably unmatched by most managers and their organizations around baseball. So yeah, there were lots of reasons you could look at the Brewers and say, this won't be the year. They won't do it this year. But they had other good players, right? It's not like Burns was their everything. Contreras is really good. Adames is really good. Yelich is really good, and Yelich got hurt, but then here comes Jackson Churio. He's a star, so he kind of slid into that Christian Yelich spot. Now, you'd love to have them both, but my point is they weren't bereft of talent. They weren't even bereft of household names, right? Adames is a household name among baseball fans. Contreras is getting to be a household name. If anyone knows baseball, they know who that is. He's very good. He's respected. He was an all-star, right? They had good players. But I think in a season that's 162 games long, and I bring that up because it's important, it's what defines baseball versus some of our other sports. I think it's bigger than just the players. And I think we need to view these teams, these Major League Baseball teams, these organizations, as almost Fortune 500 companies, right? It's not just about one star employee or one really talented person that carries a business or carries the business model. There's a CEO, there's a CFO, there's a president of this and a VP of that. There's different divisions that all take care of different things. There's different departments that all look out over different things and take care of different responsibilities. The Pirates and the Reds are poorly run companies. And I don't think the Cubs are particularly well run. A lot of resources. I don't know that the Cubs are a dumpster fire, but I don't know that they're above average. I'm not so sure that the Cardinals are that well run. I think the bloom is off the rose a little bit on that one. I'm interested to see again. I'm just interested to see how the Cardinals operate moving forward. I'm willing to see and waiting to see if this devil magic will die, if there's anything left there. I don't know. I don't know that any other the teams in the Central are excellent franchises, are excellent corporations, are really well-run businesses. Because in order to succeed over a 162-game sample from top to bottom, it needs to be good. Christian Yelich in the postgame last night, you heard a little bit of this commentary in the intro, but he talks about you need contributions from everyone, and it's not just the players.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just really proud of our guys and our organization and people from top to bottom. And it takes so many people to be on a good team. You have to get contributions from everybody, and you face a lot of adversity throughout the 6 months. You know that's what you're signing up for in February when you come to spring training, and that's why you celebrate when you make the postseason in the big leagues, because it's extremely hard to do, and every time you do it, it should be celebrated.
If we're betting on organizations, companies, like if we were to buy stocks in companies, all right, do they have a good CEO? Are they well run? Have they shown consistency over long samples of time? The Brewers have done that. The Brewers have been competitive every year since 2016. They've been within a game or two or a couple games from the postseason, even when they haven't made it. Every single year. They didn't make it in 17. They missed by a game, and they didn't make it 2 years ago, and they ran out of gas a little bit after the Hader trade. Every other single year, they've been in the playoffs. They have been a model of consistency. They've been able to replicate results year after year when very few franchises in Major League Baseball are able to do that. Christian Yelich before the year. You remember this? You remember this little nugget? I went back, got this from Dom Catronio's Twitter.
I definitely think we're going to be a competitive team this year. You know, even when we've been good the last few years, like no one ever picks us to be good, you know, just because, you know, we're the Brewers and it is what it is. But I think that we have a chance to really surprise some people with the talent in this room. We usually always find a way to be competitive and be there at the end and give ourselves a chance. So you never know what's going to happen over 162 games, the 6-month season. There's a lot of ups and downs. You know, there's going into it, you know, there's going to be great times. You know, there's going to be stretches where it gets really tough.
Because we're limited in time, I'll just cut it off. The rest of the answer is really good. We've seen the clip, that interview. I keep replaying it. I keep retweeting it every time the Brewers succeed, because Yelich said before the year, we're good every year, but nobody ever picks us to be good because we're the Brewers, which is whatever. He has a good laugh about it. He said, we always find a way to be competitive. Yeah. And that's not secret. That's not proprietary information. They've been within a game or two of the playoffs every year since 2016. That's not secret. That's easily accessible information. We've watched it closer than anybody. Yelich talked about, well, everyone has bad stretches. We know that. We know that going in. They did this year, right? They did last year. How many games did they lose going into Craig Counsell's record-setting win last year that happened against the Mets, I believe? What did they lose? 7 or 8 games in a row? They found a way to dig out of that, play more good baseball. This year, they went under 500 in the month of July. And you're wondering, is this team kind of coming back down to earth where we thought maybe they could be? And then what do? They turn around in August. They have the best month of the season. I think they went, 19-9 or something like that, 19-11 in the month of August. They had the month of August was their best win-loss month of the season, following their worst month. The Brewers are used to being in contention. They're used to winning. They're not comfortable losing. They know how to react and deal with a bad stretch. And they know that even the best teams will have bad stretches. And shout out to Murphy. coaching those young guys this year who haven't necessarily been through this before and keeping a good head on their shoulders and making sure they keep perspective. It's really impressive. But this division title is being framed as the craziest story. How could we have seen this coming? What a surprise. What a shock. And I don't know that I would have bet my mortgage on it, but I said a lot early on in the season, no, the Brewers will be in the mix. They'll be in contention because they always are. And they tell you that that's the way that they want to do business. Openly, explicitly, they'll tell you. So I don't know that this is really all that shocking or surprising. It's really impressive. But the fact that the Brewers were in the mix to win this division, that doesn't surprise me at all. Now, the rest of the division couldn't get their you-know-what in gear. That's not the Brewers' fault. That's not the Brewers' problem that none of these other organizations in the Central can get it together and be consistent over, a 6-month sample. Let's take a break, 3 minutes. We'll come back, talk about this with Curt Hogg, who was there last night, the Journal Sentinel. Don't go anywhere. It's the Wisco Sports Show.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Yeah, you're just trying to help out any way you can, and Jackson did a great job, and really Willie Adames, William Contreras, Freddie Peralta, they're the ones that helped him tremendously. He's obviously a great player, and he was learning the big leagues for the first couple months, and then, once he got comfortable and felt like, he had an idea of what he was doing, it's been fun to watch and really special, and really just brought up Bryce Terang, Sal Frelick, Joey Ortiz, Garrett Mitchell, like all these guys that are experienced in the big leagues for the first or second time, and they're developing and winning at the major league level, and that's extremely hard to do, and it's really a credit to them.
Cool commentary from Christian Yelich after the game last night. He's really, maybe I just didn't notice this 2 years ago, but he's really evolved and grown into a very nice ambassador, very nice spokesman for the Brewers and what they're trying to do. They clinched yesterday around 4:00, but then got to celebrate it in perfect fashion. And I am not a sports writer. I'm not a scribe. I'm not a journalist. I am a hot take artist on the radio. But if I was a journalist, like our next guest, Curt Hogg, I don't know that you could write a much better story than they were able to write last night. Let's bring him in now. He was there last night. He was in the clubhouse. Do you still smell like champagne? Or are you still dumping it out of your ears?
I just came into this room and I forgot I had not thrown my khakis downstairs to the laundry. So I did that right before getting on. Little known trick. I was going to give you. I was just about to give you some crap though for wearing you're wearing your Brewers jersey, and I was like, that's not very. It's not a very professional, established clubhouse presence of you, Grant.
Well, I'm not in the clubhouse. If you had a Brewers jersey on, or at least a shirt or a hat, like I'd understand it. I can be a fan, but I'm not a journalist. I don't hold myself to the same standards that you guys do. You, as a journalist now, how many division championships have you covered? How many champagne showers have you endured now?
The last two.
The last two.
That's it. Yeah.
It gets difficult to keep track of them all. That's what I was joking in our first segment. It's difficult to keep track of them all. Back-to-back years now. This one seems unlikely, or it's been framed as unlikely. And if you look at the Vegas win totals, it was unlikely. But the more that I think about it, it's like, should we have seen this coming a little bit more? Should this be so shocking? Like, have the Brewers not earned our trust as an organization to be in the mix every year and to not fall off the table, even if they lose a little bit of talent? Like, was this that crazy and unlikely?
I do think we undersold it for sure. I undersold it. A lot of people, others did. Like I probably had them more around like a 500 team than like the 76, 77 wins. And that gets you within shot in this division. Like the rest of the division played out as we expected. It's not good.
Yeah.
And I think we slowly started to see, like, as spring training went on, that maybe, just maybe, like, this was not all held together by the glue of one man. And yeah, this year's been a statement from the Milwaukee Brewers. They, from top to bottom, are an incredibly well-run organization. Like I wrote in my story last night, like, if it was this easy to win in this way, every team would do it.
Yeah. And I don't think that it's the Brewers' fault that the rest of the division kind of underperformed. If I was a sports gambler, I would just avoid putting my faith in the Reds or the Pirates. I don't know that the Cubs are poorly run. I don't know if they're well run. They might just be run. They're run. They're right in the middle. And I kind of feel the same way about the Cardinals. I'm interested to see how that franchise goes the next couple of years. But I don't know, looking back, like Christian Yelich said it in spring training, right? He's like, no one ever picks us to be good because we're the Brewers and it's whatever. And he went down this laundry list of things like, we're in it every year. We understand there's good and bad stretches. This team, I think it's interesting. They had their worst month of the season in July. They went under 500. And we all started to wonder, I think, a little bit. And you and JR on the Microbrew pod, he's like, is it happening? Is this what we've been scared of? Is this a 2014 kind of rerun? And then they follow it up in August with their best month of the year. I think that's a testament to their resiliency. And they're just used to being in contention. They don't panic. They're used to this.
Yeah, young guys come up and they contribute in some capacity right away. And the sum of the parts is greater than, how does that go? The sum of the parts is greater than the sum.
The sum of the parts is great. Everyone knows.
You know what I mean.
Yes.
That's the Brewers. Also, what do we got on Yelich calling himself Frelick?
Yeah. Is it, have we all been saying it wrong all along, or what was that?
I don't know, but I'm worried now. I'm worried about what other names I might be mispronouncing. Maybe it really is Churio.
Oh, God. Well, we know it's not.
Our friends from, I don't know, some national broadcast.
So I know you're a reporter, and in the press box, you deal with facts.
Very serious.
You guys are very serious, right? I was watching at home last night. I would have loved to be there. It didn't work with I was at work all day. When they went to the bottom of the ninth, Rhys Hoskins hitting that ball off Nola, Devin Williams looked as sharp as he's looked. It's not like he's been bad, but that was peak Devin right there, 3 strikeouts. And then you go to the bottom of the ninth, the Churio's due up first. It just kind of felt like it was about to be the Brewers' night. I'm sitting at home because sometimes when the offense isn't scoring, Curt, I just switch into Churio watch mode. It's like, okay, well, when is the next? Because he's kind of powered the offense. And man, when he lead it off with that triple, it's like, yeah, it's going to be that kind of night, I think.
I was a little underwhelmed. I thought he was going to hit a homer. So
weak.
Yeah. I think I had that story and that tweet ready to go, and then hit a triple.
Weak.
Yeah. There's going to be more Jackson Churio stories coming. The people are asking for it, and by the people I mean like the editors. But people probably enjoy reading it too.
Yeah.
It is the story with this team in addition to the manager, and there's a part of that I'll tease. It's Freddie Peralta talking about Jackson Churio. And I just kind of asked him, like, what was your favorite moment of Jackson Churio this year? And he said, it hasn't happened yet. So that's where we are with Jackson Churio, I guess.
He's going to make me believe. I hate this.
Did you know Braylon Allen was 17 when he was a freshman?
I did. I think he was the youngest NFL player ever to score a touchdown last week. Your alma mater, Wisconsin, UW Madison grad, as it says in your Twitter bio. Churio, it just blows my. It's not like even it would be one thing if he was like an old 20. He's a young 20. He doesn't turn 21 until March, Curt.
Yeah, I've got some spots picked out in Phoenix.
Or is everyone going out for his 21st?
Just kidding. I'm gonna be as far away from that as they will allow me. Like, they will force me to be as far away. And that's okay. That's good. I hope he has a fun time with Freddie and Wild Bill Contreras. I'm sure they'll have a fun night.
So on Churio, I think you're going to get where I'm trying to go here. This is difficult without a visual aid. I tried to make one, and then I realized I was not capable technically enough. So I think of this spectrum of Jackson Churio outcomes, right? If we were before the season to consider all the different types of seasons he could have, and I think the worst season would probably be he can't hang in the majors. They have to send him down, right? And then he doesn't come back up. Like, that would be nightmare. That would be worst case scenario. I don't really know what the best case scenario would be. I guess like best player in baseball right away. I think of this outcome, and I've brought this up on my show before, like the worst possible season he could have, where we still all look at each other and say, good start. We're on the right track, right? Where did this Churio season fall on like the list of possible outcomes, from worst possible to best possible? Like, where does this season line up for what you expected? Do you kind of get what I'm asking there?
Yeah, I'm fully in on that. Okay. I would say you look at the year in totality, we're probably at 80th percentile.
Yes.
I mean, this is pretty dang good. He's like a 4-win player, 120 WRC plus. The second half, well, actually, since the start of June, that's probably 95th. I mean, he's been one of the 10 best players in baseball for 4 months. If that's any lower than 95th, I'm afraid to find out what would be higher than that. And then but honestly, like the first 2 months, they were not good, but they weren't like overly concerning. Maybe I was just like able to have a little more patience with him because like people kept reminding you that like he's 20, he's going to struggle. And there was still like some glimpses in there too. Like, don't get me wrong, but the total production was not good, but you saw enough glimpses there. It wasn't like he was never hitting the ball hard or never showing you flashes, or like the defense was just horrendous and he couldn't steal bases. So that was probably like 30th to 40th percentile outcome. Like, if he had done that all year, wouldn't have been good. But I don't know if it would be full panic.
Yeah. I think if he's in the minors and then like goes, and I say this respectfully because I like Joey Weimer, I still think he has a chance to be good. But like if he goes down and then isn't able to get himself back up because he gets on a hot streak or really starts hitting the ball hard in Nashville or wherever he would have been in the minors, this is such a low-hanging fruit radio interview question, but I feel like I have to ask it. What's the moment that you had watching Churio this year where you were like, oh, okay, so that's like he is that good? Like, there has to be one moment where you really, like, your opinion of him had to take a leap.
Well, Grant, that'd be a great story idea.
I don't mean to, if you're maybe working on that, don't.
No, I'll dish. Mine was in Detroit. I think I said this on maybe it was foul territory somewhere. It was in Detroit. He had a go-ahead double to win the game in like the 6th inning. And then the next day they faced Scooble. And he got a hit, and then he also smoked a ball like right at a defender in left. But the at-bats were really, really, really good. He was taking close pitches, and then he was like doing his nod too, his little, that's off the plate thing. And so I don't know. Like you could pick anything really. This is just all about vibes.
Yeah.
Which, as you know, big vibes guy.
You can't just be the numbers and the analytics. You need to measure in the vibes and the gut too, of course. Gut feeling.
That is covering the Milwaukee Brewers in a nutshell, Grant. Vibes plus. W vibes.
Yeah. W vibes plus. Curt Hogg, the Journal Sentinel, is here. So we have 10 games left. 4 against the Diamondbacks, who are fighting. Those 3 games in Pittsburgh worry me. And then the Mets next weekend. I'm going to the game on Saturday. I'll be covering the game from a fan perspective, which is what I love to tell our sports director, Zach, when I want to bother him to try to act like I'm cosplaying a journalist. What are you looking for this next week, and any preliminary thoughts on the playoffs? Any way you want to go?
Wait, does this mean you're going to be in the press box?
No.
Oh, boo.
I think we're in the. I don't remember who got the tickets. I think we're in the 200 level somewhere. Is that the Loge level? I think.
Yeah. Okay. So you'll be drinking.
They didn't want to tailgate. My friend lives in Bayview, and he's like, we should go to a bar and take the shuttle. And I'm like, guys, it could be a beautiful fall day in the lots. And my friends are coming from the cities. They're Twins fans. I'm like, we need to take them to the lots.
Yeah, come on. This is what the culture is. Yeah.
I was outvoted.
No, I just don't go to games in my downtime anymore. But I did meet up with my friends for one this year, and they were like, yeah, we're gonna catch a shuttle and go to a bar. It's like, come on, guys. Come on. There is parking lots out there. Public transit, great thing. I don't even remember what your question was.
Just honestly. The next week and your early thoughts on the playoffs. Anything that you're thinking about.
Stay healthy, and I feel like this offense. I mean, there's a couple wild cards in there, like Garrett Mitchell, but they're gonna do what they're gonna go as far as 3 guys carry them: Contreras, Adames, Churio. So you don't want those guys going into the playoffs like lost at the plate. That's probably the main thing, and then health. And then honestly, not much else. Like maybe they'll be able to sneak into this bye, but it just doesn't seem likely, not having the tie breaks over either team, and they're both pretty good. So
don't the Dodgers have 6 against the Rockies, and then who's the team that they're playing?
Oh, they do.
They have 6 against the Rockies, and then they're playing a team that's bad right now too.
The Marlins. They're playing the Marlins right now.
I saw that. If I were a lesser broadcaster and more of a homer, I am a homer, but if I was really, I would cry foul over the schedule makers trying to throw the Dodgers a bone. But the Brewers didn't take advantage of their games with the Rockies, so I can't sit here and act like.
Or the Marlins, they can't beat either team.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm honestly kind of just looking forward to 10 days as like covering the team that don't really matter. I don't know. They've played so many meaningful games that you try to like make something meaningful out of each one.
Yeah.
Every year. So, and what's coming up. So like that Pittsburgh series, we're just going to have some fun.
There are beats and media markets that are dying for meaningful games in September. Curt, we have reached the point now as people who cover the Brewers, we are dying for meaningless games in September. That's how you know that we've made it as a collective. I love
that. Is absolutely right. Yeah. I'm going to have some pierogies in Pittsburgh and like tweet out memes.
You always tweet lyrics when you go to ballparks. I like that. Continue that.
Do you know what those are?
I was hoping you weren't going to ask because no, I don't. Are they Taylor Swift lyrics?
It's all Taylor Swift lyrics.
Okay, that's okay.
Associated with each stadium.
And good for you. Curt Hogg, follow his work, listen to the podcast. It's going to be some great stories and some Jackson Churio content coming up. Curt, thank you for the time. I know you're an ink-stained, champagne-soaked wretch today after a late night of work. I appreciate this time so much.
Yeah, no problem. I don't have any fun at work either, so make sure you pass that along.
Thank you, Curt Hogg, Journal Sentinel. Thank you, Curt. On Twitter at Curt Hogg, but Curt with a Y. And I think we talked about this once upon a time that someone has his handle with the U. I don't remember. Now I'm going to look it up. But I think he told us about that last time. But follow his work, read his work. Even if you don't subscribe every once in a while, buy one at the newsstand at Quick Trip. Just grab it, read his story, support local journalism, and support the coverage of both him and Todd. Not just Curt. We love Todd as well. He's going to be on Bill's show tomorrow, I think, unless something comes up. So we're going to hear from them both before the end of the week. Let's take a break. 5 minutes? Your thoughts. Now you have a chance to join. 608-321-1670. We'll get to you next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
I think each year is different. Every year on a different team, and there's different players that make it up. But, Murph brings a certain intensity. He keeps it loose. Obviously, he likes to have fun, but there's an accountability that's there. You have to play a certain way if you want to play for him. The only thing he cares about is winning, and he's going to put the players out there that he thinks are best to do the job. And, I'm extremely happy for him. He's been waiting a long time for this opportunity. He's been with the organization for 8-9 years. He's a baseball legend. He's a college baseball legend. He's a Major League Baseball legend. So I'm just really excited for him and really happy that he got this opportunity.
Christian Yelich last night, I believe with MLB Network, got the headset, did an interview out on the field. Nothing earth-shattering, nothing groundbreaking that we hadn't heard before about Pat Murphy, right? Keeps it light, but also is intense and really wants to win and is really honest with players. The end of that answer struck me too. And he's like, I'm just so happy for him, right? I'm happy that he got this opportunity and is succeeding. I think that's an underrated, and I guess what's the word I'm looking for? It's an underrated or under-discussed element of a team. When there is a leader or a quarterback that everyone really wants to play for and a person that everyone really, really wants to see succeed, I think that's powerful. We saw that last year. We heard it from lots of players, how badly everyone wanted Jordan Love to succeed, how much they liked him and how hard they wanted to play for him and work to help him succeed. I think that was really important and maybe an under-discussed part of the Packers season last year. Based on what Christian Yelich had to say there, I wouldn't be shocked if a large portion of that locker room, didn't feel the same way about Murphy, or I wouldn't be shocked if they felt the same way about Murphy. And that's a big part of, I think, the energy and the motivation of this team having a season that surprised a lot of folks. And it surprised me to some degree, but as I said back at 4:00 and as I started our discussion with Curt, I said, maybe it shouldn't have been that surprising. I mean, look at the last 6 or 7 years, the way that this team has operated, and maybe it shouldn't have been as surprising. The Vegas win totals are what they are, but just in predicting who was going to win this division and the way that it was going to shake out, I don't know that we should be that shocked with the Brewers winning this division for the second straight year, despite a lot of losses and injury and upheaval. 608-321-1670. Let's take a call. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant. Hey, great interview with Curt Hogg. Tony from Texas here.
Hey, Tony. We love Curt. Curt's the best. Very generous with the show. So everyone follow and support him, please.
Yeah, he's a regular Larry the Cable Guy. I think he thinks he's a comedian now.
A little bit. He likes to BS. Curt, I think Curt likes to have fun because I think so many in his profession are overly serious and stuffy. And I don't think Curt likes that. I don't think that Curt likes, and I don't want to speak for him, but I don't think Curt likes when beat writers are so serious and they ostracize fans and they look down on fans. I just think Curt likes to push back against that a little bit.
Yeah, I'd like to hang out with him and Andrew Wagner and see how that conversation went.
Two very different people, but weirdly, I think it would work. I think it would be a good time. Yeah. Maybe Counsell and Murphy, a combo like that.
Right. There you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
Exactly. I wanted to be a sports writer when I was younger. I don't know if you did, but then I realized I don't like to type.
I like to write, but I don't like to write when I need to write. You know what I mean?
You don't like deadlines. Yeah.
I don't like deadline. I don't like deadlines. I like writing when I have something to write down. Yeah.
Or people telling you what to write.
I also never really read sports stories growing up. Like my first thing where I got really into sports, it was just watching ESPN when I was younger. So I never really, I think, who did you read? You must have had writers that you read constantly growing up.
Peter Gammons, Frank DeFord, Peter King, all these old timers. Michael Bauman, back to the Journal Sentinel days, all the old Silverstein, all these guys. But, back to the Brewers, though.
Yes.
I mean, this team's got the best defense. They're the fastest team in the league, the best bullpen. They've got the most exciting, iconic rookie that I've seen come through here since, I don't know, I couldn't tell you when, Pat Listash from 92 maybe. They've got the manager of the year. They got clutch hitting. They got great vibes. I mean, if they don't get it done this year and get past the first round, I don't know when it will happen.
I love that was your, if they don't get it done this year and advance one round, yeah, I would agree with you. If they don't advance past the first round, I think it'll suck this year. If they don't win a World Series, we'll have that conversation when it comes. But if they're a one pump dump again this year, I will be very disappointed.
Yeah. And they're close to, I think, to doing this, because if you look at the series with the Phillies and the Dodgers, and by the way, the Brewers do have the best record against teams with over 500 records this year. They have the best record. So the Brewers are no fluke. They don't just beat up on the Marlins or the Rockies. They actually kind of struggle with those lesser teams. So I look at the Brewers. They have a shot. Can they match the bullpen? Yes. Starting pitching, that could be problemsome. I agree, problematic. But you look at our guys, our top three guys, they're not bad. They're good. They're good pitchers. They're solid pitchers. Freddie's going to have to pitch his best ball, though. If Freddie's going to be a true ace, he's got to bring it like Woody has brought in the past, or even Corbin Burns at times when he was in a mental head case. So they're right there. Either the clutch hitting, you never know what's going to happen. Hoskins could get hot. Who knows?
Well, and that's why the playoffs, I think, and Tony, that's a great call. I appreciate you. Thanks for listening down in Texas, always. I trust Peralta, Montas, Myers. I mean, who are their three going to be? Colin Ray might start a playoff game, but the fact that he was pitching out of the bullpen, I just don't know really what they have in mind for him. Montas needs to make a playoff start. Freddie Peralta needs to make a playoff start. And then I guess what they do with the potential third game in that wild card series, if they're in the wild card series, they probably will be. That'll be a point of discussion. I trust their pitching. It's not star-studded like it has been the last couple of years. They don't have the names of Burns, Woodruff, Peralta, although they didn't have Woodruff last year, and they've had years without Burns, and like they would just always deal with injuries at the end of the year, and knock on wood that we don't have one of those in the next 10 games like we've kind of become accustomed to the last couple of years. I trust their pitching staff. I mean, go back through the last, X number of games. They win when their offense performs. Plain and simple. There are very, very few games in which they lose where their pitching staff doesn't do enough. Very, very rarely do I watch this team and think, pitching staff didn't give him a chance today. Now, Colin Ray imploded against the Giants not that long ago. There was that. Now, they lost to the Diamondbacks on Sunday. That was a weird game, and I think it was poorly managed. It was a whole thing. But you take those two games out of it, they won 2-1. They won 6-2. They won 2-1. They won 3-0. They won 3-2. They lost 4-1. Like, it's a lot of lower scoring games that the Brewers have opportunities to win. And it's not star-studded, maybe like the rotations of the last couple of years, but their bullpen, they just have so many arms too. It would be one thing if they had, Hader Jeffress, or, Williams, Knebel, or whatever. But Devin Williams, Koenig, I trust. Hudson, I will trust, assuming he comes back and there's not something deeper going on there. But McGill, who's had Payamps, who's close games, they have 5 guys. Instead of 2 or 3, they have 5. Now, maybe the elite talent, the top 1 or 2 relievers, hasn't been where it's been in the past, but I trust their pitching. Curt said at the end of our conversation, and I agree, they are going to win or lose in the playoffs on the bats of Willy Adames, William Contreras, and Jackson Chourio. It's as simple as that. How can you get those guys going at the right time? That's how the Brewers need to operate over the next week. That's what they need to figure out. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
This is Hot Take Jake.
Hey, Hot Take. What's going on?
Good to hear from you again. So, I love Tony, but it's like you could go in a time machine and just like go back a year, 2 years, 3 years, like that call of like, it doesn't feel like they're going to win it, but you never know. You get hot. And like, that's just, unfortunately, that's just kind of the only thing we have as Brewers fans. And
well, they just won the division. We have that.
I mean, cool. I mean, it's a great, change from, I'm about to be 40. So I have many, many years as a kid of just like, misery. So, cool division. I guess it's gotten old. And I'm don't get me wrong. Like, I'm glad I have something relevant to watch until football season, but that's really the Brewers' only job to me is like, just be good enough that I pay attention until then.
Well, I think that's a youth thing. There
I don't
are
know,
people
like-
who baseball is like, just get us to football, and that's fine. But then don't call in and be like, this is how everyone should feel. Oh, by the way, I'm really only just riding this team until football starts, and then I don't really care that much anymore. You know what I mean?
But it's kind of funny to me that, like, it's similar every year, and then what makes this year different? It's just like, oh yeah, they're probably worse even this year, but you never know what could happen. And I don't know.
Do you
like,
think they're worse? I think they're better this year than they were last year. I trust their offense more than I did last year.
Well, here's the thing: if Yelich was healthy, which is like the ultimate what if, which we can never count on that, but I'd feel so much different about this team. But like, they just at some point the talent disparity is too much, the youth is too much, and I don't know. Like I know I talked to you yesterday about like how lame it is, the champagne shower. And I'm just watching all this unfold on Twitter, and I'm like, this is just they're going to be done in a couple weeks. The season's going to be over. There's nothing different, and I don't know. Like I guess it's just disappointed that again I could flash back a year and it feels like the same conversation. But the other thing is I do want to mention before I let you go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you brought it up yet, but I would love to hear even just like a 2-minute segment about Rome Odunze's father giving up on Caleb Williams and the Bears, because it's
funny.
just chef's kiss. It's so Bears.
So if none of you saw or none of you know what Hot Take Jake's talking about, thank you. I appreciate the call. Thank you, Hot Take Jake, 608-321-1670. So I guess not Caleb Williams' dad, Rome Odunze's dad posted a clip, and I saw this today, of Rome Odunze being open and not getting the ball. And I saw that, and I think most people would see that and think, oh, in a way he's saying, hey, Bears, be better, get my son the ball. But I guess what that clip was in response to, I guess Dan Orlovsky on ESPN talked about how Rome Odunze isn't separating, isn't getting open. So I guess the clip was firing back at him, but also then tweet that. I mean, parents should never tweet for their professional athlete kids, ever. I don't think it's ever a good idea. If I was an athlete and I'm making millions and I'm trying to start my career in the NFL, Dad, stop. Don't. Do not do that. Mom, do not do that. Because people are going to see it and then wonder. They're going to ask questions, and it's going to become a thing for the kid. That was pretty funny, though. I'm with you. And Hot Take Jake, like the idea, well, what's different about this year? Well, it's another crack at it. It's another opportunity to get hot at the right time. That's kind of the whole thing. That's kind of the path that they've elected to take. And again, I think it's as good of a path as any other. Doesn't mean it'll work. And also, a little parting shot to push back a little bit on your Hot Take, Jake. For everyone who's like, well, they're probably going to lose in the playoffs anyways. You're probably right. But those people are the worst types of sports prognosticators. Because if you say, well, this team will lose in the playoffs anyways, you're probably going to be right every single year. You're probably going to be right because only one team wins it all. But those people bother me. Those people who are like, well, they're probably going to lose the playoffs anyways. They probably are, but don't act like you're a soothsayer and then turn around and do a victory lap when you're proven right, when you're probably going to do right. That's the worst type of sports prognostication. I was talking about that with Zach, our sports director, earlier today. Let's take a 3-minute break. I'm a little behind. We'll wrap up hour number 1. I'll keep coming to your calls. If you're on hold and you can wait, stay there. I promise I'll get to you. Final segment of hour number 1, the Wisco Sports Show next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The football has started, but training camp isn't over. It's training camp for the season that really matters. Oktoberfest season at the La Crosse Beer House. Prepare your appetizer game with pig wings or a 24-ounce pretzel to share with the squad. Main course drills include locally made brats and amazing batter-fried fish. Wrap up your training with the best selection of German beers in the area. Oktoberfest won't know what hit it when you complete your training camp at the La Crosse Beer House. Corner of 3rd and Pearl, downtown La Crosse.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show, only got about 60 seconds here before we got to break it to Zach's update. So if you're sitting on hold and I see that there are 2 of you, I promise I'll get to you within a minute or 2 on the other side of this break. I just don't want to bring you in now only to have to cut you off to get to Zach's update. So in the best interest of giving you fair airtime and rewarding your patience for sitting on hold, just hang tight. We'll continue to talk Brewers. Probably around 5:30, I have a couple Packers things that at the very least I want to update you on. A couple things that Matt LaFleur said at practice today, or it is press conference after practice today. So we'll get to that as well in hour number 2. A lot more of the Wisco Sports Show coming up. Thorson and Heilprin coming up at 6 o'clock as well. Loaded night. Don't go anywhere. First, an update from our guy, Zach Heilprin. 2 minutes.
When I wanted you to share my life, I had no doubt in my mind, and it's been you.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers are continuing to prepare for their trip to Tennessee on Sunday. They're doing so with quarterback Jordan Love on the practice field. Limited yesterday, but is recovering from a sprained MCL, suffered 13 days ago in the opener against the Eagles. As for if he'll play against the Titans, he said there's still plenty of work to be done.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I'm going to take the week and just take it day by day and see how it feels. But I'm not going to make any decision on that now. You know, I'm hopeful that I'll get to that point where I can get in there. But we're just going to take it day by day and see.
Love's backup, Malik Willis, said he can see how important it is for Love to get back.
I mean, it's been awesome. And like you said, he's been around the clock doing, treatment and taking care of his body. And you can see that he feels more comfortable just the way he moves around the building and the way he was out there today. So I wouldn't be surprised, and I just have to stay ready and focus on what I can control. And the rest will leave up to him and Coach LaFleur.
Again, be the Packers and Titans on Sunday. Kick is at noon. Turn to the Badgers. They are on their bye week. They're going to return to action next Saturday at USC in their Big Ten opener. Trojans are at Michigan this week. If they win, likely in the top 10 when the Badgers head west.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Farmers deal with a lot, including long days, stress, and fatigue. This is your reminder to take breaks, stretch, have a snack, and hydrate your body. Avoid farm accidents by keeping yourself healthy. Visit ruralmutual.com to learn how Rural Mutual supports Wisconsin farmers and prioritize safety on the farm.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, a day after clinching the NL Central, the Brewers back in action tonight against Arizona. Milwaukee still has a chance at one of the top 2 seeds in the NL, sitting 3 games back of Philly and 2 games back of the Dodgers. First pitch tonight is at 6:15. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Party like ever you want till midnight. Party till midnight. And then remember, you've got to decide, make the choice that you're going to believe that there's a reason this group ended up first place, wire to wire. Make sure you understand that.
It takes so many people to be on a good team. You have to get contributions from everybody. You face a lot of adversity throughout the 6 months. That's why you celebrate when you make the postseason in the big leagues, because it's extremely hard to do, and every time you do it, it should be celebrated.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
Some audio from last night. Pat Murphy in the clubhouse and Christian Yelich on the field talking with the folks at MLB Network. By the way, Willie Adames not in the lineup tonight. He gets the day off. How could he? It's actually disgusting. They clinch a playoff spot and Willie immediately gets lazy. I wish we would have traded him back at the deadline when we had a chance. We'll continue to talk about the Brewers clinching yesterday, but then really, I think, kind of celebrating their division title last night in a way that we all preferred. It was nice to clinch. It's funny that it happened because the Cubs lost, but the exclamation point, the walk-off last night really, I think, made it better. So I want to continue to talk about that. Some Packers factoids, some things, some comments from Matt LaFleur earlier today. We'll get to that in about a half hour. But for those of you who have been sitting on hold, thank you for waiting. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Chris Chippewa.
Chris in Chippewa. What's up, Chris?
Oh, not much. I don't get to call very often, but when I do, I like to try to. I have to touch all my sports bases. But before I get to that, I want to say, Grant, I appreciate your show. It is one of my favorite sports shows to listen to, and I'm glad I get to listen to it on my drive to work every day. It makes my day a little bit better. I think you're one of the better sports radio people, and I hope you don't think that I'm just blowing smoke up your butt. No. But I just want to make sure I gave you your flowers.
No, I appreciate that, Chris. I would never think you're blowing smoke up my butt. I have no reason to think that. There's something with me and Chippewa Falls. There's a connection that this show has with Chippewa Falls. We our highest density of callers for whatever reason is in Chippewa Falls. I don't know. It's just an area that I do very well in. I can't explain it.
So, real quick, with the Brewers, I'm actually glad I was on hold because I didn't realize until I just heard the sound clip. The Brewers were in first place wire to wire, and I think that's almost more impressive than the fact that they won. It's not like they had to come from behind. They had to struggle to get there. No, they took the lead and just kept it the entire time, and it was like a big finger to all the analysts. They're like, oh, they're going to be terrible this year. So that's my first point.
I think, to add to that briefly, I think it's a testament to, I think, what separates the Brewers from the rest of the division, and that's organizationally top to bottom. It's really hard. You need a really good operation top to bottom to lead a division basically from May 1st until the end. And I also think it's their organizational competence top to bottom. I think that's what makes them great. So I'm glad you brought that up and hinted at that, because I think that's something that I've undersold during the show tonight.
Yeah, so I like that was really awesome. I got to watch some of the game last night, and I was like, man. So really, the Dodgers and the Phillies are all that's in front of us to get one of those first two spots. They just showed that they could beat the Phillies. They just took 2 out of 3 out from them. So I think, they have that chance to get that spot. And I think if they get that spot, I feel like we got a chance at the World Series this year. It just seems such a cohesive group this year. There's something that feels different about this team than previous teams. I don't know what it is. It's just one of those gut things.
To me, it's the offense. It's those bats. Like, Adames has had a much better year. Contreras has taken a step, and they have Churio. Now, I wish Yelich was healthy, but, what are you going to do?
Yeah,
this is an offense that could get hot. I didn't really feel that way about last year's offense. And it's hard to, pitch 1-2 run games all the way through against good offenses.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And then my last point I wanted to get to is, as a born and bred Wisconsinite, I love the Packers and the Brewers, I'll be honest, like nothing brings me more joy than the continued buffoonery of Chicago sports teams, man. Like it just doesn't stop. It just provides so many great memes and jokes, and the fact that the Cubs losing, Council losing, gave us the division. That is like the chef's kiss. It is just beautiful. And then, of course, the debacle that is the Bears, man. Like, does it get any better?
No.
I really don't think so.
It doesn't, Chris. I appreciate the call. Those are all outstanding points. I appreciate the compliments too, the flowers. Not necessary, but appreciated. I'm interested to see how the Bears do against the Colts this weekend. We picked games on Bill's show earlier today. That was one that I struggled with because I think the Bears have underperformed. I also think the Colts have underperformed. Not really sure how to rectify that. Not really sure how that's going to spin out. I think the spread was like 1.5. So I'm interested to see how the Bears look this weekend. That's going to be a data point that I'm excited to be able to collect. That's data that I'm going to be happy to have when I watch that game this weekend. The Cubs, look, the sports gods threw us a bone this year. The sports gods gave us the season I was really hoping for. The Cubs suck, and the fan base really wasn't all that pleased with Council. Didn't really go all that well, and the Brewers had a dream season behind the guy who replaced Council. I'm very thankful. The sports gods really threw us a bone this year, and I appreciate it. And especially the way that it ended yesterday with the Cubs blowing it to the A's. The A's. Oh, I'm so glad it wasn't the Dodgers or the Phillies. I'm so glad it was the A's. It was even better. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, this is Tom.
Hey, Tom. What's up?
Yeah, I love the fact about Council. His remarks after the game yesterday were great, you know. So, but I think the Brewers, for all the fans that are questioning, I don't think it matters personally whether we get one of the top seeds. I think this team is destined. I think it's destined because back in '82, we hit the home runs. We were the Bambi's Bombers.
Mm-hmm.
We lost to the Cardinals, who all they did was base hit us to death and steal bases, and that's what we're good at. And in a short series with good pitching, I think we've got a better than odds-on favorite chance to win.
Well, Todd and Tom, this is why I agree with you to some degree, Tom. Last year, you know, they could do some small ball stuff, and they kind of had to manufacture because they just didn't really have the pop. They had no power in the lineup last year. I don't know that they were really great at the small ball stuff either last year. Their offense just sucked last year. This year, Murphy's leaned into the small ball stuff a little bit more, been more willing to steal bases, certainly been more willing to bunt, more willing than I'd prefer. Sometimes I think a bunt can be fun. I don't know that I want to rely on a bunt in the biggest spot, but whatever. We'll see how it plays out sometimes in big games. There are worse ways to go. So whatever. That remains to be seen. The thing about this team and the thing about this offense is they can do both, right? They can get guys on, move runners over, play small ball, but Adames can also hit bombs, and Contreras can hit bombs, and Churio can hit bombs, and Hoskins is a fun wild card. Look, if Hoskins has one great week, he can help them win a playoff series. And that's kind of why they brought him in. I'm sure the Brewers would have loved to, have more production over the course of the regular season. I'm sure they would have loved to get more first base production for the money that they invested. But the fact that they were able to win the division anyways, getting, close to zilch from him, and he had a big home run last year. He had a couple big moments, but over the grand scheme of the 6 months and the 162 games of the season, I don't know that they really got return on investment from Hoskins. But now that they're in the playoffs and we can basically cast aside everything that was done or wasn't done in the regular season, if Hoskins has a great week, he could be the hero. He could be the difference maker. And I think we forget about him, and that possibly a little bit too much. I think when the Brewers operate this way and when their whole strategy is just get in and try to get hot, again, I think it's a good strategy. I think it's as good a strategy as any other, right? Nothing is going to be easy for the Brewers. There's never going to be a likely path for a team based out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin to win a World Series. So I think if you want to build it up, tear it down, that's fine. That's a way you can do it. It's got about as good of a chance of succeeding as anything else. If you want to try to sustain success and make it in every year and try to get hot, That's a fine strategy. I think it's got as good a chance as anything else. I'm kind of preferring the sustained success because we have a viable team to talk about every day. And we have really since 2017, which hasn't really been the case at this level, at this rate of consistency in a long time in Wisconsin sports talk radio. So I appreciate that. If you're going to build a team to sustain success and to just try to get hot in the postseason, I feel better about it if the team has potential to get hot. I don't know that last year's team did. I don't know that you could point to many people on that team the way that they'd played all year and go, well, he could get hot. He could get hot. I don't know that I would have bought that. This team is flammable. This team could get hot. We've seen it happen a bunch this year. And I think their pitching is good enough. I don't think their pitching is a liability. It's not elite, but I think it's good enough. And it's certainly stabilized since they've added Savali and Montas. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, you got Darnell the Chum.
Hey, Darnell, what's up?
Hey, so is there such a thing? We can talk for days about the different statistics and, well, because of, their ERA plus and their WRC plus, all this, the statistics that go into everything and basically drive the analytical world of baseball that we live in right now.
Okay.
There's such a thing as destiny and feeling.
Hell yeah.
When baseball, that's what last night, did that not just feel like a team of destiny?
Last night felt like a game of destiny. I'll meet you there. I don't know that I can go the rest of the way with you, but let's start with last night. Yes, it certainly felt special last night. Yes.
It was a game that I don't remember experiencing for a really long time. I didn't feel that way last year. I didn't feel like that in 2021, maybe a little bit.
Okay.
I felt like that in game 163, 2018. But I mean, that was like a game where I'm like, okay, dang, everything kind of came together the way it needed to for the first time in what felt like forever. And it was like a UW basketball Final Four run where it was like the make them believe type thing, except theirs is undaunted.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
I don't know. It's scary to me because things just feel like they're kind of coming together, and whether the statistics back it up, it's like the vibes and the feelings of this team are on a different level than I remember them ever being. So
last night certainly goes a long way to making me believe that. Yeah. Just the excitement, that Churio triple, it just all started to line up, right? Right, Darnell? Rhys Hoskins, the one who gets the homer off Nola, and then Devin Williams looks unbelievable in the top of the ninth, and then Churio leads off with a triple. It kind of felt as that game went along that there was something at play, 100%.
Well, and you had just mentioned, and what I think is going to be a huge X factor in the playoffs is Rhys Hoskins. He has quietly been super consistent over the last about 3-4 weeks. More consistent than I remember him being all year. And his home run totals have ballooned here in the last month. I don't know. He's going to be super important cog for offense when we're not generating anything. Like last night, we're down 1. It's already the 5th or 6th inning. He smokes a home run, right? Absolute no doubter. And that was exactly what the Brewers needed in that moment. And he's the guy. He's a guy. That's what we got him for,
So that I would agree with. I remain higher on Rhys Hoskins than most. Thank you, Darnell. That's a good call. I remain higher on Rhys Hoskins than most. And it's easier for me to remain pretty open to Rhys Hoskins and to kind of give him a lot of slack for the year they just had because they didn't even really need him to win this division. They won some games with his help, but he was not the player that you'd expect, the production that you expect to get for that amount of money. So if they were coming up short in the division, I might be like, well, if only Rhys Hoskins would do something, right? But we didn't have that issue. Brewers didn't have that issue. So he hits a couple big pops in the playoffs. I'm with you. And I think remain higher and more open to success with Rhys Hoskins than most. One more call, then we'll take a break. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hi, Grant. Excuse me. Hi, Grant. It's Pat from Eau Claire.
Pat, you're really quiet. Are you far away from the phone?
No, I don't think so. I'll try to speak louder.
Okay.
Is that better?
I turned you up as much as I can. This is good enough, Pat. Yeah, this is good.
Okay, I just have a little disagreement with you on one of your last statements, in that I don't think the Brewers have to get hot in offense to win and get to the World Series. They have been so consistent all year in getting timely hits out of unlikely places that I think they can just do it without having, somebody go 6 for 12 in a series or 8 for 10 or something like that. I just think that they're consistent enough that they can do without having 2 or 3 guys get really hot. And one important reason is because they're the only team in Major League Baseball right now that have not lost 4 games in a row yet.
So I suppose I can meet you on that, Pat. Like I think if the other team plays up, like if they were to play in a series against the Diamondbacks or the Dodgers, the Phillies, and any of those teams play really, really well, I don't know that slapping the ball around and double stealing, like I don't know if that's going to be enough. Might be enough to win a game. I think the dream is, Pat, that they do all those things and they put pressure on the defense, put pressure on the pitcher, and then they also get a couple big swings. I think the dream is you get both, right, Pat?
Oh, absolutely. But
Okay.
I just don't necessarily think the way they've been playing this year that they necessarily need, like I said, 2 or 3 guys to get really hot because they haven't necessarily had that all season and they're winning.
So that's reasonable. I think that they've had more pop. Thank you, Pat, for the call. And sorry to bust your balls about the volume. You're just a little quiet. I just want to make sure that everyone can hear you. I think the Brewers have had a little bit more pop. I think they've been a little hotter this year than some would give them credit for. This hasn't been all steals and bunts and sack flies. Now, the timely hitting, you're correct about that, Pat. The two out hits have been huge. But I think 2 out hits are a product of a good offense, right? I think sack fly is a product of a good offense. I don't know that there are offenses that are better at getting 2 out hits or better at getting. I think if you're a good offense, you just do those things. And I think the Brewers are a good offense. I think they're much improved from last year. And Pat, not to push back on you, but you're pushing back on me, so I'll push back to the pushback. I think the Brewers have hit with a little more pop, and they've relied on hot bats a little bit more than maybe you were leading on in that call. I don't totally disagree. They got to continue to do the little things. They can't just cross their fingers and hope that they get home runs because they're a better team than that. Don't get me wrong. But in order to win a World Series, some things got to line up, and I think that includes, some of these power bats, especially Contreras, Adames, Hoskins, Churio getting hot at the right time. 608-321-1670. We'll continue the Wisco Sports Show next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show. I want to get back to talking about the Brewers, and maybe we'll dedicate a couple minutes to having some fun with the Cubs, because I think that seems to be up everyone's alley. It's gotten mentioned by a couple callers tonight, so I'm just here to provide the content that the listeners are looking for. I'm but a vessel. That's my job here. A reminder before we continue, a week from tomorrow morning, we're going to be at Flipside in La Crosse as Oktoberfest gets underway. So talking to you, WK2I listeners, Eric on I-90 and company, and we had a couple Madison listeners. We even had an Eau Claire listener to come down, right? It's not a far drive from anywhere, and Oktoberfest is certainly worth the trip. If it's something that you want to do, we'll do it and then come to see us, right? Stay for a night or even just come for the day. Come for the whole day on Friday. It's worth it. See the tapping of the Golden Keg, right? Go down to the fest grounds. Just take in all that Oktoberfest has to offer. And if you're in town, or maybe you live in town, like I said, to our WK2I audience, come see us at Flipside. On the near north side of town. I don't know that it's the true north side, but it's trending north. Let's say that. The Northerners, they're very, not unlike in Game of Thrones, they're very territorial about the north side, and that'll be the case with the parade on Thursday night. The north side will be pumping. Friday morning, starting at 6, you can come down for the tapping of the Golden Can. Ebo will be broadcasting over the line there. I will be there as well. We'll sing some German songs. Ziggy Zaki, oi, oi, oi. You tap the Golden Can, and then we'll go down to the actual tapping. And I know Bill's going to be in town. I think he's going to make an appearance, go down to the grounds. And in the evening, the Wisco Sports Show will be live from Flipside as well. And they're doing some food specials, some happy hour specials that wouldn't normally be available on Friday at that time, just to throw everyone a bone because they're great at Flipside. So you can see us there next Friday as Oktoberfest gets underway. I am as excited about this as I get excited about anything at this age. I don't jump for joy thinking about Christmas morning. Like, you don't do that like you used to, but Oktoberfest I do a little bit. It still makes me feel like a kid. So I'm very much looking forward to next Friday. 608-321-1670. Back to the baseball. Going to talk Packers in about 10 minutes after our next break. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant. It's been a while.
Coyote Mike, it has been a while. I was hoping I'd hear from you to celebrate this division clinching occasion.
You bet. Hey, I got to tell you, the flip side, when my dad was alive, we'd go there. I'd come home for a week or a long weekend or whatever. We'd go there a couple times. Got the best popcorn.
Oh, the big machine on the wall.
Fantastic place. Yeah.
Yep. Oh.
Yeah. So I'm glad to hear you guys are going to be there. You guys keep talking up Oktoberfest, and I'm like, God, I can't make it this year. I was going to go, and then we had some unexpected expenses. So
yeah, it's the worst.
And God, Anyway, hey, why can't the Brewers go and win the World Series? I'm getting kind of tired of everybody saying, not everybody, but some people go, oh, they're too young. Oh, they're just they don't have enough power in the bat, not enough star power. Everybody's been waiting for the other shoe to drop all year, all season. It's like, oh, they just, can they keep it going? Can they keep it going? And the one guy I think who's keeping it going is Pat Murphy. And you and I talked about this way back in April after I heard him talk a few times. He has got a different message going than Craig Counsell did.
Mm-hmm.
And it's obvious. And then last night's game, I was able to, I listened to them all, but it was on Major League Network. And you could just feel like they didn't need to win that game, but you could see it in the way they played. They wanted to win, but they had to win because that's what they've been doing all year long.
Yeah.
They've buckled up. They're undaunted, just like Murphy has said, and they buckled up and they got it done. And it was just a fantastic win. And I'm just waiting for the season to end. As long as there's no unexpected disasters like an injury or something like that. But that win was big last night, and to get them into the playoffs,
I gotta say, look out for the Brewers.
I think a lot of people have echoed that, Coyote Mike. I appreciate it. I think you're right about last night. It's the way they've operated all year. Pat Murphy's thing from spring training has been win tonight. The goal is to win tonight. We worry about tomorrow. I almost sensed that there was a feeling of obligation from the Brewers players last night. We got this crowd today. We clinched the division today. We're going to be celebrating this game in the clubhouse. We can't lose this game, right? And obviously they try to win every game. I'm not saying they tried harder last night to respect the circumstances and to respect the upcoming celebration. I just think that they met the moment last night as they have so many times throughout the year. Onabom fan tweets in and he says, hey, Grant, just checking in. Please ask your callers to tone down on the positivity. The players will hear it and get complacent. That's a good point. And I will be better. We will be better. Something that I wanted to laugh at when Tom called in and was talking smack about the Cubs. I said, you know what? I wonder if anybody at the Cubs presser yesterday asked Counsell, well, with this loss today, the Brewers have now won the NL Central. How does that make you feel? What do you think about when you hear that? And I wasn't able to find that, but I went to the Marquee Sports Network Twitter account and I found this tweet from 5 hours ago today that I think is pretty funny. They posted the Cubs' Pythagorean win-loss record, which is 83-69. And then the Cubs' actual win-loss record, which is 77-75. Almost as if to say, well, guys, I know that we've had an underwhelming season, but the team's actually better than the record states, which I don't know if that's supposed to make the fans feel better or worse. There's a 30-second soundbite with this with two of the Marquee hosts. I don't know who these guys are, so I wish I'd give them credit, but I can't. Let's just listen to this. First of all, run differential is not. There are some in the sports talk sphere who talk about run differential like it's nuclear physics. It's simply how many runs you've scored and how many runs you've given up. Jesus. It's not. If you want to wage a war on analytics, fine. Okay, if you want to fight back against WRC plus and launch angle, although I'm not really sure how you can fight against launch angle. It's a description. It's not really a concept or a formula. It's just telling you at what angle the ball comes off the bat, whatever. You want to wage a war against analytics? Fine. Run differential is not that. So, small aside, continue. So I agree with that to some degree. That a team can underperform their talent, that a team can let some games get away. Sometimes the Pythagorean or the expected wins, call it whatever you want, doesn't match up with the actual win-loss record. At some point, though, over a 162-game season, that's a fat sample. It's hard to hide as a bad baseball team winning games or as a good baseball team losing games. It's hard. It's hard to be a fraudulent team one way or another over 162 games. That's a lot of games. Over 2 months? Yeah, absolutely. And that's why some of those advanced numbers, that's why we look a little closer at some of these teams that win and lose at the clips that they are. It's really difficult for the second year in a row, I think, for Cubs fans to say well, they should have won more. They're actually better than their record would indicate. It's okay, but the season's 162 games long. That's a lot of games. That's a ton of games. That's not a small sample. So I just thought that was funny. I wanted to play it. That is part of the reason why Craig Counsell was brought in. Absolutely. Jared in DeForest says, I didn't see the lineup for tonight's game. Did they put out the Sunday lineup resting a few guys? Or did they put out a let's go get a top 2 seed lineup? Adames does have the night off. He's not in the lineup. Other than that, it looked normal. Well, Hoskins wasn't in the lineup either, but Jake Bauers is hot. Had the game-winning RBI. You can't keep Jake Bauers out of the lineup today, so I'd hardly qualify that as a Sunday lineup. That might just be, you get your best 9 on the field. The home 9, the local 9. But yeah, Adames is getting the night off tonight, for those of you who hadn't seen the lineup yet. Okay, let's take a couple minutes. We'll come back. I have some Packers updates for you. Jordan Love, Matt LaFleur, you'll hear from both of them and start to trend towards Thorson and Heilprin. Maybe we can connect with Zach and Ebo coming up closer to 6 o'clock as well.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The football has started, but training camp isn't over. It's training camp for the season that really matters. Oktoberfest season at the La Crosse Beer House. Prepare your appetizer game with pig wings or a 24-ounce pretzel to share with the squad. Main course drills include locally made brats and amazing batter fried fish. Wrap up your training with the best selection of German beers in the area. Oktoberfest won't know what hit it when you complete your training camp at the La Crosse Beer House, corner of 3rd and Pearl, downtown La Crosse.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
It's the Wisco Sports Show. My name is Grant Bills. Thorson and Heilprin coming up in 23 minutes or thereabouts. Maybe a minute or two off. I don't do math on the air. I hope to connect with Zach and Ebo before the end of the show. Zach was texting me aggressively today about some of my social media posting, which is Zach and I love to argue with Zach. That's why we're such good friends. Not that Zach would ever admit that. Those two are coming up. Talk Badgers. You get to hear what Zach saw on Saturday against Alabama, but, they'll talk about Brewers, Packers, everything else. 608-321-1670. I have a comment from Matt LaFleur that I want to play for you, but first, caller's been on hold. I want to sneak him in. Wisco Sports Show. Hello, who's this?
Eric on I-90.
Hey, Eric, what's going on?
Stand up, Grant. Stand up. I'm going to stand up, too.
Stand up?
All right, here we go. Here we go. Ready?
Yep.
Clap. Give a big round of applause for the Milwaukee Brewers. Yeah! What a day. What a day. Now, there's another group. The Wisconsin Sports Zone, WZON. Special guest star, callers, give them up big. And what a fantastic group of people they've been this year. Well-mannered, happy. It's such a happy day.
We earned that Brewers division title. We earned it. After how our season started back in February, we earned this, Eric. I won't have anyone tell me otherwise.
Right. And now, there's one more. There's one more. Here we go. Stand up, Grant. Here we go. I'm going to stand up. Okay, here we go. All right. It's Grant Bills. You'll get more Brewer content from Mr. Grant Bills than anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
What a fantastic day. What a fantastic season. I just got to say that.
It was. I think the sports gods threw us a couple bones this year, Eric. The way the council left us high and dry in February and everything that's happened since. I think Brewers fans, there was somebody looking out for us this year. And I enjoyed it. I'll take it. I would go so far as to say we deserved it. So I'm glad that we got it.
Well, Grant, it's the journey. It's the journey, right?
That's true.
And it's not over. It's not over. So I'm really happy for all. And my favorite thing about the Brewers, Grant, is the way that Bob Uecker says Jackson Cheerio. If you could just play Jackson Cheerio.
We just don't get that from announcers anymore, Eric. We don't get that from announcers.
You don't get that. You're not going to get that from Chris Collins. I mean, he's not even baseball, right? I got a question for you, though. Is Chris Collinsworth actually Saul Goodman in disguise? That's what I want to know.
Maybe a little bit.
Could it be? Could it be? And another thing too, did you watch the Monday night game? Did you see Jason Kelsey?
Yeah. Do you have a problem with that? Do we have beef there?
No, I don't have a beef with it. What I found remarkable is how small he's got.
Oh yeah.
He's standing next to Joe Buck and Aikman. Aikman's like a giant.
Mm-hmm.
Like a giant. He's still growing.
It's America's booth.
Huge. Yeah, but no, I didn't have any problem with any of that. No, really great day. We got to savor the flavor and just keep on with life, man. Have a good one, Grant.
And I will see you next week as we draw one day closer to being at Oktoberfest, Eric.
You will see me next week. Yes, sir. You will see me next week. I can't wait to see you.
Hell yeah, Eric. I'm excited as well. See you at Flipside or wherever you're tooling around. That's Eric on I-90. We will be at Flipside, like I said a little while ago. I bullied Eric into possibly taking a vacation day because, Eric's got to work. And I said, Eric, I don't know this to be true for sure, but I would bet you anything that you're sitting on a mountain of vacation days. A pile of vacation days. Just take one. I know you got him. Eric's probably been a loyal employee at his company for a long, long time. He doesn't strike me as someone who takes vacation days on a whim for no reason at all. He doesn't strike me as someone who takes personal days because he doesn't feel like going to work. Just doesn't seem like the guy that Eric is. So I just take the vacation day next Friday and enjoy Oktoberfest, Eric. My God, if I still lived in La Crosse, I remember when I lived in La Crosse, it would be Thursday before anything started. I'd be sitting around at work on Thursday. I remember this was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. It was Thursday afternoon as Oktoberfest was starting up, and I didn't have any lunch at work. I didn't pack any lunch. I didn't have any food at home. So I'm like, I'm going to go get myself a sandwich for lunch. So I went to Bodega, which is on the corner of 4th and Pearl. So it's a couple blocks away from work. And I'm like, well, whatever. I'll eat it there. I'll bring my laptop. Because sometimes, you sit in a studio. The studio in Madison has windows that look out into the hallway, but there's no sunlight, So I'm going to go sit at Bodega. I'll bring my laptop and I'll get some light. I'll go somewhere else. I'll get out of this padded room for a little while. And while I was waiting for my sandwich to come, I'm just looking at the bottles of liquor up on and I'm not someone who drinks a ton. I like having beers with friends, but it's not often that all the friends are together. I really don't drink that much. But Oktoberfest, man, and it's not like I wanted to black out, but I'm like, man, look at all those beers on the wall. You can feel it in the city. It's starting to go. I want to be done with work. I want to get a nice pint or a big mug of a dark brew. And I'll never forget that day, just sitting at one of the tables at Bodega with my laptop, waiting for my sandwich and just looking back behind the bar, seeing all the beer and just being like, why am I working tonight? There's nothing in the world more important, in the world of Wisconsin sports, at least, than La Crosse Oktoberfest, which is about to commence. So I'm very excited for next week. Let's listen to this comment from Matt LaFleur. So we talked about Jordan Love being back. By the way, he gave us the same song and dance that we got yesterday. He's limited. He's limited. He's limited. That's all I'm going to tell you is that he's limited. Again, if you missed it yesterday, they hit him, I think, as hard as you can hit a coach, asking, hey, in team, how did he look? Is he going to practice tomorrow? Is he going to this, that, and the other thing? And Matt LaFleur just kept hitting him with he's limited over and over and over again.
Was Jordan able to do for you today?
He was limited, Bill.
Was he able to do team?
He was limited.
So it's yes or no on team?
He was limited.
In team?
He was limited.
He was limited.
Take that however you want.
He was limited. Okay. So we don't need to do more Jordan Love stuff today. He did practice. I think he's got a shot to play. Maybe he plays, maybe he doesn't, but we're still ahead of schedule. I think we're certainly ahead of the worst case scenario. Whereas, does he miss 6 weeks? Well, at this rate, it looks like at most he's probably going to miss 2, which is awesome. And at worst, when he comes back, they're going to be 1 and 2, which is great. Excellent. 10 out of 10 result, considering what could have happened. The comment, and it's going to be underwhelming in comparison to conversations surrounding Jordan Love, but the comment that jumped out to me today is something that I've brought up with Bill, and I brought up on the show. It's Emmanuel Wilson. And I know that doesn't, you're hearing this like, Grant, really? You're working Emmanuel Wilson conversation into the show today? No. Just bear with me, okay? So we have now moved Marshawn Lloyd onto the IR. Now, he might come back, but he's out for a while. A.J. Dillon's not going to play at all this year. We knew that before the season. So it's Josh Jacobs and Emmanuel Wilson at this moment in time. I know they brought up, was it Chris Brooks? But it's Josh Jacobs and Emmanuel Wilson. And what I have said repeatedly and haven't really been able to get a great answer, we've had bigger fish to fry, to be completely honest, than to talk about Emmanuel Wilson. But something that I've been thinking about is if Emmanuel Wilson this season could just be 15 to 20% better than he was last year, they have a good enough running back 2 or running back 3. Like, he could contribute and they can run the ball with him. Like, he's a viable player. That's something that's just been on my mind. It's like, well, if Emmanuel Wilson's even made a slight improvement this year, that's a viable running back, and they can run behind him and they can run with him and win games with him this year. Of course, behind Josh Jacobs. That's the straw that stirs the drink. So today, question and answer from Matt Schneidman and Matt LaFleur. This is what I've been thinking about. This is what I've been talking about.
How much more comfortable are you putting Emmanuel?
If you can't hear the question clearly right at the beginning, Matt Schneidman asks, how much more comfortable are you giving the ball to Emmanuel Wilson?
How much more comfortable are you putting Emmanuel Wilson out there for double-digit touches than you were maybe a couple months ago?
A lot more comfortable. I think he's done a good job, and he continues to get better. And when given opportunities, I think he's maximized those. So for him, it's just about being consistent, down in and down out, and making sure you're doing all the little things on a day-to-day. But I've got a lot of confidence in him.
So the tone in that answer matters because Matt LaFleur is probably not in this situation going to say, nah, he's basically the same guy. Hasn't got any better. He's not going to say that. But he might say, yeah, we're comfortable giving him the ball. But that's not what he said. Listen to this one more time.
A lot more comfortable.
A lot more comfortable. It's very definitive. And he did not wait. There was no there was no yeah. Although we only really get that from one guy. But that's a confident answer.
A lot more comfortable.
A lot more comfortable. If the emphasis would have been on another word, not lot, I'd feel differently. A lot more comfortable. A lot more comfortable.
A lot more comfortable.
That matters. I feel better about the running back situation than I think I would have felt had you told me a couple weeks ago that A.J. Dillon's going to get hurt and Marshawn Lloyd's going to get hurt. You know what I mean? I say, ooh. So it's just Josh Jacobs and Emmanuel Wilson now? This makes me feel a lot better.
A lot more comfortable.
And I think it's instructive. I think this is something that Packers fans that we should follow and track. And when Matt LaFleur is asked about Emmanuel Wilson, I'm glad that Matt Schneidman asked him because he's now running back 2 without Marshawn Lloyd healthy. He came back for one game and he immediately hurt his ankle and he went to IR. It's like, okay, sick. Great. It was nice, though. He had one good run in the first quarter that came back due to injury. But that makes me feel good. And it might seem like a little thing, but Matt LaFleur and this Packers team's been able to run the ball if they've just had the backs. Right now they have 2, and the fact that they're
a lot more comfortable
with Emmanuel Wilson has me feeling better than I would otherwise. So that was nice. That was a nice bit of confidence that I received, at least with the Packers running game. Let's take our final break of the show. We'll come back and continue to push an effort towards Thorson and Heilprin. Why don't we try to talk to those 2 yahoos when we come up next?
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
I definitely think we're going to be a competitive team this year. You know, even when we've been good the last few years, like no one ever picks us to be good, you know, just because, you know, we're the Brewers and it is what it is. But I think that we have a chance to really surprise some people with the talent in this room. We usually always find a way to be competitive and be there at the end and give ourselves a chance. So you never know what's going to happen over 162 games, the 6-month season. There's a lot of ups and downs. You know, there's going into it, you know, there's going to be great times. You know, there's going to be stretches where it gets really tough and rough, and you just have to, you know, just put your head down and keep going. And we've done a really good job of that over the years, and it's going to be fun to watch this kind of new wave come up. And I think some of the guys that we've had here and that have kind of moved on are obviously going to be some of the best players that this franchise has seen, you know, put on a Brewer uniform. These guys have done a really good job. But before they were that, there were also these young kids that were super talented that people weren't as familiar with, and then kind of grew and, you know, learned themselves at the big league level and developed into these household names and some of the best players in the game. So these guys definitely have that potential, and I could see a similar story kind of unfolding in that sense of, you know, when it was my first year here, you had the Haters, the Woodies, Freddies, Corbins, all these guys coming up at the same time that ended up being really, really good players in this league. And, you know, that ends up happening. We're going to be in a good spot.
That's Christian Yelich in February. And I love that clip because he basically said, you know what? We're good every year. We're in the mix every year. We're competing every year. But people don't expect it. People don't pick us because we're the Brewers. And that's whatever. And he kind of laughs it off. But I keep going back to that all year long when the Brewers were outperforming their Vegas win totals, outperforming projections. And I said back at 4 o'clock, talked about it with Curt Hogg at about 4:15 too. If you missed that, check it in the podcast. It was really, really good. Curt was there last night. I said, Curt, should we have really been that surprised that the Brewers were able to do this? Like, I mean, maybe the bigger surprise is how poor the rest of the division is, but that's not the Brewers' problem. Like, I see people pointing out the fact, well, you know, the Brewers, they won this thing by default. You know, mostly fans or media members of opposing teams in the Central. It's like, what do you mean by default? The Brewers are going to win 90-plus games. How's that by default? If they win 81 and they win the division, okay, sure. If they win fewer games than they lose, like they did in 2020, a little bit by default, you know, it's by means of the expanded postseason. But this year, I don't know. People just, I don't know. Lots of bad baseball takes. Lots of bad baseball takes, I guess. And I like that Christian Yelich before the year was like, people never pick us to be the champs or to finish first because we're the Brewers and that's whatever. But the Brewers have not played more than a teeny tiny. I mean, how many meaningless games of baseball have they played since 2016? They played one meaningless game. They were in it into the final day in 2017, weren't they? They were right down to the wire. And then 2022, what were there? 2 or 3 games at the end of the year, tops? They're just in it all the time. And maybe it was a little bit of an oversight by folks in Vegas, baseball prognosticators, I don't know, to think that this team was just going to fall off the face of the earth, fall off the table. We're just a couple minutes away from the end of the show. Thorson and Heilprin are preparing at Monks in Sun Prairie. Ebo, are you there? I looks like you sent me a text, Ebo, at Monks in Sun Prairie. I'll pot him up.
Not only am I here, but so is Zach Heilprin.
Zach and I were fighting earlier today. Zach didn't like a social media post that I made. I don't know that we need to litigate that on air right now, but
that's not accurate. I have no problem with you making the social media post. I just know what you're doing. Like, you don't let facts get in the way of your social media post, which is completely fine. It's something that you didn't even think about when you made the post. That's fine. I just want you to own it.
I heard there's misinformation.
So, Ebo, I posted a tweet today, and I posted it on Facebook too. There's listeners that are on Facebook, aren't on Twitter, so I like to include them. And it was a picture
and
of
hopefully Instagram as well.
Yeah, it was a picture
and Threads
of Council celebrating and Truth Social celebrating last year with the champagne glasses. Very mellow, very muted. It just looks kind of lame. And I'm like, I remember that visual. I'm gonna go clip that, and then I'm gonna get a picture of Pat Murphy going nuts with the champagne bottle last night. I'll put it side to side. I'll tweet it out, and the engagement will follow. And it did, and I knew it. I guess I didn't remember, and this is what Zach got on my case for. I guess that champagne, the toast with the little champagne flutes, that wasn't when they clinched the division. That's when they clinched a playoff spot. So whatever, apples and oranges. the post remains Counsell sucks, and we should celebrate the fact that the Brewers are succeeding without him.
I want Zach to retort, but real quick, I also posted on Truth Social, but it was I hate Craig Counsell.
Yeah. It was much more direct. Yeah, that's for getting right down to facts.
Only on Truth.
Yeah,
only on Truth.
No, no. Again, Grant does not necessarily care about facts. Like that's not really his thing. He's going to get his take
He's not
off.
a journalist like we are.
He's going to get his take off. He's going to
shut up,
you
Evo.
know, it's kind of, he's going to get his takes off. He's going to talk about things and try and get that engagement. He's about the engagement. That's all he cares about. Now his account's verified, so he's trying to make money off of that engagement. And that's completely, I understand it. But, facts, I felt like I just needed to say that to you on a text. I didn't blast you out publicly.
If I'm trying to make money,
and the fact is, there is pictures of Counsell going crazy with champagne bottles in the locker room from last year. So it's insane to be like, it's just, oh, look how much things have changed. But when in reality, they're exactly the same. And they've been exactly the same every time they won the division in the last 5 years.
Grant has a blue check mark on Twitter. If anything, he should get community noted for that.
That's what I'm saying.
The previous version of Twitter, they would have let that run wild. Misinformation ran wild on the previous version of Twitter.
Just crazy. Just crazy.
So
that would be community noted.
Zach, you're so hung up. And you're a journalist. You're a great one. I don't take that away from you. 30 more seconds, but I think it says something, Zach, that the image that stuck in my mind was not Counsell spraying the bottle, but holding the champagne flute delicately in the air. I think that matters.
It's because you're a hater. It's because you're a hater. That's what you are.
Craig Counsell does.
That's just what it is.
I'm sorry. Are we all supposed to like
suck,
Craig
but that's
Counsell now,
what-
Zach? Where's this coming from?
No, I posted on True Social. I hate Craig Counsell.
Did you post the show rundown on True Social? I didn't see it. What's coming up on Thorson and Halpern tonight?
Zach, did you?
We got Packers, we got Badgers, we got Brewers. Obviously going to be going crazy. Going to be going crazy on the Brewers because such a big day yesterday. Such a big day, winning the division again.
You are such a smart ass.
Can't wait to see what this holds for October.
You are such a You know what? Go spread that energy on your show. I'm going to pot you down now. Have a great show tonight, Ebo and Zach. I appreciate you coming on. Bye, Ebo. Looking forward to listening on my way home. That's it. That's it for the show. Catch the podcast. Curt was great. If you missed anything, I'll post it in just a couple minutes. Thank you for following along on the stream, Thorson.